A few months ago, I met someone who'd spent years in Silicon Valley building software companies. He was smart, driven, successful by every measure. First thing he told me was, I haven't slept properly in 10 years. He said it like it was a badge of honor. I thought about that line every week. Because when I started Daedalus XR, my software agency, I had to make the same choice he made. And I made a different one. This video is why. I think that starting a startup is a bet. And that bet costs more than it looks. If you scroll social media, everyone says that building a startup is cool. Everyone is showing some kind of lifestyle of a startup founder. YouTube is plenty of videos showing these shiny startup founders' lives. But are we sure that's real? Because I think that nobody shows you the price of running that kind of life. Because I think that the startup path, if you take it seriously, doesn't steal your hours, it steals your energy, your cognitive capacity. Because you are so focused on your company that there isn't space for anything else. There is no space for relationships. There is no space for hobbies, for what actually makes life enjoyable. That's my take. Because you are optimizing your life for unicorns, for building a startup that is a unicorn. That kind of company is not optimized for you. And I think that's not the right way of intending business. In my opinion, a business should support your lifestyle, should empower how you live, should let you live as fully as possible. And the weird part about that is that the odds of success don't change because you work harder. And I think this comes from American hustle culture, that if you're working harder, if you are sleeping like a very few hours per night every day, this means that you are going to be successful. But I believe that this is deeply wrong. This is a strong misconception about how life should be lived and how businesses should be built. When I started Daedalus XR more than 3 years ago, I faced this decision. My co-founders and I needed to choose if Daedalus XR would have been a startup or a software agency. At the beginning, we got fascinated by the startup dream. So we started to run a lot of customer interviews, to design a lot of business models, and to come up with a lot of business ideas about how to productize virtual reality in order to make a lot of money. But this didn't work because after 6 months, our bank account hit zero and I needed a salary to pay my bills. So that's why we pivoted to a software agency model, which is much more designed to be profitable and to be balanced. Because this is what I realized I wanted. Not billions, but control of my life. Because in my opinion, the real privilege is going to the mall on a Wednesday morning and actually be free of doing that. I don't say that running a software agency means that you're basically free to do whatever you want. You can afford to not work for 3 months. That's not true. That's a dream. That's a lie. Passive income is really hard to achieve, and if you're starting from zero, is basically almost impossible. But being capable of choosing what to work on and at what pace you want to work on, that's real freedom. So a business should generate energy. It shouldn't drain energy. For example, a predictable salary, planned investments for the next 6 months, 12 months, and 2 weeks off without panic. That's the real goal for me. And this is what I have achieved with Daedalus XR, which now has been around for more than 3 years. We're making more than 250k euros in revenue, and we are stable. I am starting to taste freedom, real freedom. So I would suggest to focus not on a goal, like I want to reach 10 millions, but choose and design what enough is for you. For example, I will be happy if I could earn 3,000 euros per month, for example. I could be happy if I could earn 5,000 euros per month. Just choose what is your enough number and then design your business around that enough number. I think that the service model compounds quietly because startup founders sometimes disrespect service-based business because they think they are not ambitious enough. Perhaps they are right, because of course a service-based business is much harder to scale. But this also means that it's less risky. A startup business model is too risky. You can basically afford to build a startup if you already have another source of income, or if you have financial freedom. But the cool part about the service model is that your best client's growth becomes your growth. Because you are basically not selling projects, you are becoming their machine. You are becoming their strategic partner. If your clients grow, you grow with them. You charge more. They ask you to implement more features. They ask you to upgrade the software you already developed for them. And also, if you're running a service-based business, you can get paid to build a software once, but then you can resell it 10 times. And this is a much smarter way of breaking the market, of building a product. After 3 years that we have been building, over the 3 years, we have been asked a lot of times to build 3D configurators. So right now, we are building our own B2B SaaS, which is a product configurator. Because every reusable system lowers the cost of every future project. So maybe at the beginning, you need to build a lot, but if you manage to be vertical, if you manage to specialize yourself and your software agency, it's very likely that in the future you will productize your service and you will scale and you will increase your margins by a lot. So that's my take on startup versus software agency business model. Let me know what do you think about that, and see you at the next video.